Welcome to AI in 8 minutes or less, your daily AI update. Today, we are unpacking a massive issue in this explainer, one that could literally determine the entire future of the global technology landscape. We're diving into exactly why the US business model for open source AI is failing right now, and what that actually means for all of us. We've got to break down some hard truths today because, let's be real, we are basically betting the house on AI working out for the United States. I mean, when you consider that 40% of the stock market is essentially propped up by just 7 tech companies heavily tied to AI, the stakes could not possibly be higher.
We have a lot of ground to cover in today's explainer. We're going to hit 1. The open source crisis. 2. US versus China economics. 3. The US AI landscape. 4. The geopolitical risks. 5. The AGI counterargument. And 6. Saving US open source. Let's get right into it.
All right, Section 1, the open source crisis, a broken business model.
So, open source AI, what does that actually mean? It means a lab doesn't just gatekeep their AI behind an API and charge you for access. Instead, they share the exact underlying recipe and the model weights. Anyone can download it, fine-tune it, and completely recreate the tech. And, for the technology itself, this is fantastic. It's like having a giant global team of mechanics looking under the hood. The community stress tests it, makes it more secure, and figures out brilliant techniques to run it faster and cheaper.
But here's the catch, and it's a total deal breaker. The US business model for this is completely broken. Think about it. Step 1. A lab burns through months of time and tens of millions of dollars on R&D and renting GPUs just to bake the model. Then, step 2, they release it to the public for free. In step 3, well, that's where the whole thing falls off a cliff. Competitors just swoop in, take that highly capable free model, serve it directly to customers, and capture all the profit margins. The competitors can charge less and make more because they didn't have to foot that massive initial R&D bill. So seriously, how on earth does a business survive doing that?
Which brings us to Section 2, US versus China economics, the subsidy advantage.
Okay, so if the open source business model is structurally broken, how is China seemingly eating our lunch in this space right now? Well, it comes down to basic economics. In the US, we run a free-for-all market. Our government generally doesn't step in to pick winners and losers, which means a public good like open source is incredibly hard to monetize. But the Chinese government plays a totally different game. They actively, heavily subsidize their companies. And economically speaking, if you're playing catch-up in a tech race, the absolute best, most ruthless strategy is to subsidize your product, make it dirt cheap or even free, and just give it away. It instantly obliterates the profit margins of whoever is currently in the lead. And this dynamic perfectly illustrates why that strategy is working so incredibly well right now. Think about the real world. 99% of businesses don't need AI to cure cancer or solve frontier math. They just need it to summarize an email, write some basic code, or fix a spreadsheet. That's 99% of the market. So when an enterprise CIO is comparing a wildly expensive proprietary US model against a highly capable or ridiculously cheap open source model out of China that absolutely nails those basic tasks, well, the economic choice for them is a no-brainer.
Moving on to Section 3, the US AI landscape retreating from open source.
Because of this brutal economic reality, the US AI landscape is shifting, and fast. Just a year ago, Meta was the poster child for open source, but lately, they've really started backing away. OpenAI? They literally have the word open in their name, but let's be honest, treating it as a fun side quest just didn't align with their need to raise tens of billions of dollars. Anthropic has zero open source strategy. They are laser focused on closed frontier models. And sure, Google has some genuinely great open models like Gemma, but those are specifically designed to run locally on your laptop or phone, not to power massive enterprise infrastructure. However, there is one jaw-dropping exception, $26 billion. That's with a B. That is the staggering amount NVIDIA is pouring into open source AI. NVIDIA is basically emerging as the white knight of the open source ecosystem, and it's all because they have a totally unique business model. NVIDIA doesn't care if a competitor takes a free model and sells access to it. Why? Because that competitor still has to buy NVIDIA chips to run the thing. They sit completely upstream of everyone else. So for them, spending billions to guarantee the whole world's AI runs on models heavily optimized for NVIDIA hardware, it's a frankly brilliant strategy.
Let's look at Section 4, the geopolitical risks, standards, and subsidies. Now, you might be wondering, what happens if the US market just throws its hands up and starts running on these highly capable, practically free Chinese models?
Well, there are massive geopolitical risks here. First off, if our entire enterprise infrastructure is running on Chinese models, China essentially gets to dictate future AI standards. Because of export controls, China is optimizing their models for their own domestic chips. If we adopt their software ecosystem, we might eventually find ourselves forced to buy their hardware to run it efficiently. Secondly, there's the whole black box nature of AI. Even with fine-tuning, you can't always scrub out subtle cultural biases or censorship that were baked in during the initial training. And finally, if US businesses are using free international models, they aren't paying US labs for inference. That literally starves our domestic closed-source labs of the crucial revenue they desperately need to survive.
Which brings us to Section 5, the AGI counterargument, the ultimate race.
But hold on a second. What if none of this actually matters? That is the incredibly provocative question being asked by companies like Anthropic right now. Does this whole open source battle even matter in the long run?
This is what's known as the straight shot to AGI theory. AGI, of course, being artificial general intelligence. The closed source labs argue that the absolute only thing that matters is getting to AGI first, period. The theory goes that the moment a lab hits the tipping point of recursive self-improvement, where an AI is smart enough to write better code to make itself even smarter, it triggers a flywheel that instantly creates a superintelligence. And once you have a machine that can flawlessly solve any efficiency bottleneck or invent new physics overnight, it instantly renders every single debate about open source, margins, or chip standards completely obsolete. The winner simply takes it all.
Finally, Section 6, Saving U.S. Open Source, Actionable Solutions. But let's get real for a minute. Banking the entire U.S. economy on an unpredictable, sudden, magical AGI breakthrough is a terrifyingly huge gamble. We have no idea when or even if it will happen exactly like that. So to actually stay competitive today, the U.S. needs actionable solutions right now. Number one, since open source acts as a public good, we should look at federal compute quotas or grants for these startups. Two, we've got to treat this like national infrastructure. That means tax credits and sovereign procurement, where sectors like defense or healthcare guarantee they will buy from domestic open source companies. Three, we desperately need hardware giants like Intel and AMD to step up and copy NVIDIA's playbook, funding models that are optimized specifically for their chips. Four, instead of wasting money on massive general models, startups need to pivot to hyper-efficient vertical models, AI built specifically for one industry, like biotech or the legal sector. And five, we need to lay down early AI standards so startups aren't blowing millions of dollars constantly reinventing the wheel.
Look, the recent release of DeepSeek's incredibly efficient model proved to everyone that this isn't just some fun, abstract thought experiment. It is an immediate global challenge that the U.S. tech sector has to face head-on right this second. The race is completely wide open, and we are literally fighting for the future of the global economy. So the big question is, will the U.S. fundamentally restructure its tech economy to save open source, or will AGI just arrive in time to make this entire conversation irrelevant? If you enjoyed this, subscribe to AI in 8 minutes and never miss what matters.